Once upon a time, there lived a humble man named Michael. He had a loving wife named Betty, and they were blessed with twin daughters, Maria and Lisa, who were 9 years old. Their family lived in peace and harmony in a beautiful house, surrounded by friends and comfort. Michael worked hard to provide for his family. One day he came across a business opportunity that promised great rewards. He believed this could make their lives even better. To invest in this opportunity, Michael took a loan from the bank, using their house as collateral. However, the opportunity was a scam, and Michael was defrauded. He lost all the money he had invested. Unable to repay the loan, Michael had to forfeit their beloved house to the bank. The family was left with no choice but to move to a small local community that was very different from the life they were used to. The new community was simple and lacked the luxuries they once had. Michael felt deeply guilty and worried for his family. One evening, as they sat together in their small new home, Michael held Betty's hand and said, "My dear, I am so sorry for what has happened. Please be patient with me. I promise I will find a way to make things better." Betty, with tears in her eyes but a heart full of love, replied, "Michael, we are a family. We will get through this together. As long as we have each other, we can overcome any hardship." Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Michael took on any work he could find in the community. He worked as a carpenter, a farmer, and sometimes even a fisherman. Betty also found small jobs, cooking and cleaning for neighbors. Their daughters, Maria and Lisa, went to the local school and made new friends. One day, Betty grew tired and frustrated with cleaning houses and washing clothes. She told Michael she couldn't continue doing this, feeling she was too beautiful and classy for such work. She urged Michael to take full responsibility for the family, to be the man who would care for them. Michael took on more work, waking up before dawn and returning home late at night. He built furniture, mended fences, and even helped with construction projects. The community admired his dedication and often gave him extra work. One afternoon, Michael didn't go to work. He asked his wife, Betty, if she could sell some of her expensive jewelry. Michael wanted to use the money to start a business. Betty refused, declaring it would be over her dead body. She suggested he borrow money from the side chicks he had before they became poor. Determined to find another way, Michael approached Mr. Obi, his landlord, and some trusted friends in the community, sharing his vision and seeking their support. However, no one was willing to give him money. As time passed, Betty started coming home with different men whenever Michael was not around. The strain on their relationship grew, and Michael felt increasingly helpless. Despite this, he continued to work hard, taking on any job he could find to support his family. One day, Betty came home with one of her customers. To her surprise, the man told her that he liked one of her daughters. Instead of becoming angry, Betty simply told him to wait until her daughter was a little older. "Don't worry, you will have her soon," she reassured him. Unknown to Betty, Maria overheard the conversation between her mother and her client. Shocked and frightened, Maria waited for her father to come home to tell him everything she heard. However, when Michael arrived and Maria tried to explain, he didn't believe her. He thought Maria was lying because she didn't like her mother. Soon the neighbors began gossiping about Betty's way of life. One nosy neighbor, Mr. Paul, approached Michael and told him that Betty was cheating on him with different men. When Michael confronted Betty, she started crying and claimed that jealous neighbors were trying to ruin her marriage. Michael, still in love with his wife, chose to believe her. Michael fell gravely ill, and the family had no money for his treatment. Betty could have asked one of her sugar daddies for help or sold her expensive jewelry to cover the medical costs. But she chose not to. Exhausted and frustrated, she told Michael he could die if he wanted to. Soon after, Betty packed her belongings and left Michael and their daughters. Michael was left alone, struggling with his illness and the burden of abandonment. Overwhelmed by pain and betrayal, he cried out to God, pleading for relief from his suffering. When the money wasn't enough for Michael's treatment, Maria and Lisa began begging for help. In desperation, Lisa decided to go to their mother's house to ask for money. Maria tried to persuade her not to go, but Lisa felt she had no other choice and left. Upon arriving at her mother's house, Lisa asked for money to help with their father's treatment. Betty claimed she didn't have any money to give her, but offered a troubling condition. Lisa could only get the money if she agreed to sleep with one of Betty's male customers, who was interested in her. Lisa was horrified by her mother's offer, but felt she had no choice due to her father's worsening illness. She reluctantly agreed, and the man had his way with her. After he was done, he then paid Betty. However, the amount Betty gave Lisa was much less than she had hoped for. Devastated, Lisa went home with the small money. With the little money she had, Lisa bought medication from the pharmacy. The drugs would only help Michael for a week, and his condition continued to get worse. The weight of trying to provide for her father was heavy on Lisa. Desperate for more help, Lisa went back to her mother's house and went through the same painful arrangement again. She started visiting Betty regularly, spending time with older men to get money. Betty took a part of the money each time, leaving Lisa with only half. Each time Lisa went through this process, she always feels sad. The money helped a bit, but it was never enough to fully cover Michael's needs, and his health remained poor. The cycle of relying on Betty's arrangement continued, making Lisa's efforts to save her father even harder. Maria started to feel suspicious about where Lisa was getting money from. She asked Lisa who was giving her a lot of money, but Lisa only said it was their mother and didn't explain what she did to earn it. Maria knew that Betty would not just give money away without Lisa doing something in return. She became more worried for her sister. A week later, Michael's condition worsened, and despite their efforts, the lack of proper medication took its toll. Michael sadly passed away. The community, seeing the family's hardship, came together to help Maria and Lisa with the burial. After the funeral, Betty appeared unexpectedly. She announced that she wanted to take Maria and Lisa with her. At first, Maria refused, feeling anger and betrayal towards her mother. She was determined not to go, but when she realized that staying behind meant facing starvation and having no support, her resolve weakened. Seeing no other choice, Maria reluctantly agreed to go with Betty. The decision was heart-wrenching. She felt torn between her anger and her need for survival. Lisa, though also reluctant, had little choice but to follow her sister's lead. Betty took them to her new home, where the conditions were better than the ones they had left behind. Soon after moving in with Betty, Maria discovered what Betty had been using Lisa to do. She was horrified and immediately told Lisa that they needed to run away. Lisa, however, refused to leave, saying she had no other options and was too scared to act. As time passed, some of Betty's sugar daddies began showing interest in Maria. One man expressed that he liked Maria and asked Betty to connect them. He promised to give Betty a large amount of money in return. Betty was excited by the offer and eagerly waited for Maria to come home from school. When Maria returned, Betty told her about the man's interest and the money he promised. Maria was outraged and firmly refused to be involved. "I will not do such rubbish," she said. Betty's response was harsh. She told Maria that if she refused to cooperate, she would have to stop going to school and face a difficult life in the house. "You think you're so stubborn, you little foolish girl," Betty said. "If you don't help, you'll suffer here. The money that pays for your school fees and food comes from these men. You don't understand how things work." Maria felt trapped and helpless. She was torn between her anger at her mother and her fear of the consequences of refusing. Betty's threats made the situation even more difficult for Maria, who was already struggling with the recent loss of her father. Despite her fears, Maria was determined to stand up for herself. She made up her mind to find a way to resist Betty's demands, even if it meant enduring hardship. One day during school break, Maria and Lisa had a private conversation. Maria told Lisa that they didn't have to stay in the house if they didn't want to. She suggested that they could go to an orphanage or a Catholic church to ask for help. Maria explained that she didn't like what their mother was making Lisa do with the men and wanted to find a better way. Lisa, however, refused. She said she was starting to enjoy her new lifestyle and didn't want to change anything. When they got home, Lisa told Betty everything Maria had said at school. This made Betty even angrier with Lisa. In response, Betty punished Lisa by stopping her from going to school. Instead, she forced Lisa to do all the house chores. Betty's anger at Lisa grew because she had refused to obey her. Meanwhile, Maria was devastated. Each night she cried herself to sleep, praying to God for help and hoping for a way out of their difficult situation. She felt helpless and trapped, torn between her desire to protect her sister. 18 years had passed, and Maria and Lisa had grown up. Lisa was now traveling the world, enjoying all expenses paid by her sugar daddies. She lived a life of luxury and adventure, while Maria remained stuck at home, living like a servant. Maria continued to suffer under their mother's control because she refused to sleep with men for money. Her days were filled with endless chores, and she had no freedom or comfort. As time went by, Lisa started to distance herself from Maria. Influenced by their mother, Lisa began to side with Betty and criticize Maria. She looked down on Maria for not taking advantage of the same opportunities she had, and for not helping their mother as much as she thought she should. Maria was deeply hurt by Lisa's change in attitude. The bond between the sisters, once strong, had weakened, and Maria felt increasingly alone. Her efforts to reach out to Lisa for support were ignored, leaving her feeling abandoned. Despite the pain and betrayal, Maria held on to hope for a better future. She dreamed of a life where she would be treated with respect and kindness, wishing for a chance to escape her harsh reality and regain her dignity. One of Betty's sugar daddies always insisted on having Maria. Every time Betty tried to offer Lisa instead, he refused and demanded Maria. This added to Maria's stress, making her feel even more trapped. Lisa's lifestyle was becoming riskier. She started seeing men without using protections because they were willing to pay more. Soon Lisa discovered she was pregnant. When she told Betty, her mother was cold and harsh. Betty told Lisa to get rid of the baby, saying it would be impossible to know who the father was since she had been with so many men. Lisa reluctantly agreed, and after the abortion, life seemed to return to normal. Betty continued to mistreat Maria, belittling her constantly. Whenever Maria mentioned wanting to further her education because she was tired of staying at home, Betty would explode with anger. She would remind Maria of how her poor father died a painful death, using his memory to break Maria's spirit. Maria's dreams of education and a better life were crushed by her mother's cruelty. These reminders of her father's tragic end always broke her heart. She often retreated to her room, crying all day, feeling hopeless and lost. Soon, Lisa began to get sick. She would be ill for a few months, then suddenly get better, only to fall sick again. One day, Maria suggested that Lisa go for a checkup. Lisa brushed off the idea, insisting that she was fine. However, later that night, Lisa thought about what her sister had said and became worried. The next day, Lisa decided to visit the hospital. After a few tests, the doctor delivered devastating news. Lisa was HIV positive. She broke down in tears, overwhelmed by fear and regret. When Lisa got home, she confronted Betty in a rage. "You wicked witch! Look at what you've done to me. See how you've ruined my life. What kind of evil mother are you? My God will surely punish you for how you've damaged my life," she screamed. Betty was surprised by Lisa's outburst, but showed no remorse. She tried to defend herself, but Lisa wouldn't hear any of it. The argument escalated, with Lisa pouring out all her pain and anger. "You pushed me into this life, made me do things I never wanted to do, and now look at me. I'm sick, and it's all because of you. You never cared about us, only about the money. You are a terrible mother, and I hope you suffer for what you've done to us," Lisa shouted. Maria watched in silence, her heart breaking for her sister. She had always known their mother was cruel, but seeing Lisa suffer like this was unbearable. Maria tried to comfort Lisa, but the damage was done. In the days that followed, Lisa's condition worsened. She became weaker, and the once vibrant young woman was now a shadow of her former self. Betty's house, once filled with tension and arguments, became a place of sorrow and regret. Maria continued to care for Lisa, doing her best to make her sister comfortable. She tried to stay strong, even as she faced the reality of losing the only family she had left. Maria's prayers grew stronger. She asked God to forgive her sister and was hoping for a miracle. Desperate to help her sister, Maria went to the doctor and asked if there was anything he could do for Lisa. The doctor said there were treatments that could help, but they were very expensive. Maria felt a bit of hope, but knew they didn't have the money. Maria went home and begged her mother to give them the money so Lisa could get the medication she needed to stay alive. Betty said no. Maria kept pleading, tears streaming down her face, desperate to save her sister. Finally, Betty said she would give the money on one condition. Maria had to spend one night with one of her sugar daddies. The man was wealthy and had been interested in Maria for a long time. If Maria agreed, Betty would give her enough money for Lisa's treatment. Maria was horrified and heartbroken by her mother's suggestion. She couldn't believe Betty would ask her to do something so degrading. The thought made her feel sick, but she knew she needed to help her sister. Maria told Betty she would think about it. She needed time to process her emotions and the impossible choice she was being forced to make. That night, Maria stayed by Lisa's side, holding her hand and silently crying. She prayed for guidance and strength. Lisa noticed Maria's tears and asked why she was crying. Reluctantly, Maria told her about Betty's condition. Lisa was shocked and said, "No, are you out of your mind? Do you want to end up like me? Please don't do it, Maria. Just let me die. Please, my beautiful sister, don't do it." Maria was torn, hearing Lisa's plea. She didn't want to lose her sister, but Lisa's words made her question if she could go through with such a sacrifice. The weight of the decision was overwhelming, and Maria felt trapped between two impossible choices. 2 days later, Maria went to Betty and told her that she had accepted the condition. Betty immediately contacted the wealthy man, known as Chief, and arranged the meeting. That night, as Maria prepared to meet Chief, she prayed for strength and courage. She reminded herself that she was doing this for Lisa, to give her sister a chance at life. Maria's love for Lisa gave her the strength to face the challenge ahead, even as her heart ached with the weight of her decision. When Maria arrived at Chief's house, she was met by a handsome young man who introduced himself as Barry, Chief's son. Barry knew why Maria was there and told her he disapproved of his father's way of life. He said Chief was foolish for having affairs with young girls old enough to be his daughters. Barry then said he liked Maria and would give her the money his father promised without any conditions. He took Maria's number and asked her to go home. Maria left, feeling a mix of relief and confusion. Later, Chief returned home and asked Barry where his guest was. Barry replied that he had sent her away. Chief became furious, shouting, "You've spoiled my night. Why do you always interfere with my plans?" Barry responded, "Father, you should be ashamed of yourself. That girl could be your daughter. You're making a fool of yourself and hurting innocent people." The angry Chief then called Betty, demanding that she send Maria back to his house immediately. When Maria returned home, Betty was furious. She ordered Maria to go back to Chief's house right away, but Maria refused. Betty threatened Maria, saying that if she didn't go, she would let Lisa die. Maria, overwhelmed with anger and sadness, asked if Betty was really their biological mother and questioned why she was so cruel and heartless to her own children. The next day, Lisa was taken to the hospital where the doctor gave Maria heartbreaking news. The illness had spread deeply inside Lisa, and she only had a few months left to live. Maria was devastated by the news and cried silently, but she decided to keep this sorrowful truth to herself. The doctor advised Maria to take Lisa home, as there was nothing more that could be done in the hospital. When they arrived home, Lisa noticed Maria's sadness and asked why she was home instead of staying at the hospital. Maria lied, telling Lisa that the doctor said she was improving and didn't need to stay in the hospital any longer. Lisa felt a sense of relief and thanked Maria, saying, "You are the best sister in the whole world." As Lisa spoke, tears began to fall from Maria's eyes. Lisa saw the tears and asked again why she was crying. Maria told her that she was simply overwhelmed with joy that her sister would soon be better. Maria's heart was heavy with the knowledge of Lisa's true condition, but she tried to hide her sadness to keep her sister's spirits up. Lisa was lying sick in her room when Betty came in and told her the truth about her condition. Lisa started crying, heartbroken to know she had only a few months to live. Betty, showing no compassion, coldly told her to save her tears for the devil when she finally met him in hell. Lisa's world shattered as she realized the extent of her illness and her mother's cruelty. The weight of the truth was heavy, and her sobs filled the room. When Maria came back, Lisa told her what their mother had said. Though Maria tried to convince Lisa that Betty was lying, it was too late. Lisa already believed their mother's cruel words. 2 months later, Lisa passed away, and Maria was heartbroken. The community came together to help bury Lisa, and Maria mourned deeply for her beloved sister. After Lisa's burial, Betty told Maria to move out of her house since she couldn't do what Betty had demanded. Maria, with nowhere else to turn, packed her things and left. Luckily, Maria had saved the money Barry had given her. She used it to rent a comfortable apartment. Though she was sad and alone, Maria felt a sense of relief to be away from Betty's cruelty. One afternoon, as Maria was relaxing in her room, her phone rang. She picked it up and heard a familiar voice. It was Barry. He asked for her address and she gave it to him, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. An hour later, Barry arrived at her door. When he stepped inside, Maria's heart beat faster. Barry told her he loved her, and Maria, feeling the same way, told him she liked him too. They started spending more time together, finding happiness in each other's company. It felt like a new beginning for Maria. When Betty heard that Maria was dating Chief's son, she saw a chance to cause more trouble. She called Chief and told him to keep Barry away from Maria, saying that Maria had HIV like her sister. When Barry came home, Chief told him what Betty had said. Barry was angry and told his father that it was a lie. He assured Chief that Maria was healthy and had never been with any man. This made Chief dislike Maria even more because he had always wanted her for himself. Seeing his son with Maria made Chief jealous and angry. He vowed that he would never allow Barry to marry Maria. Chief's anger and jealousy grew, and he made it clear that he would do everything he could to keep Barry and Maria apart. This created more challenges for Barry and Maria, who were determined to stay together despite the obstacles. Maria and Barry continued to see each other in secret, knowing that their love was worth fighting for. They found strength in each other and hoped they could overcome Chief's opposition and build a future together. Betty continued her wayward lifestyle, feeling on top of the world. She enjoyed her freedom and the attention from wealthy men. But one day she became ill and went to the hospital. The doctor told her that she was HIV positive. Betty was devastated. She cried all day and night, feeling a deep regret for everything she had done to her late husband and daughter, Lisa. In her deep sadness, Betty called Maria and told her the news. Maria listened quietly, feeling no emotions. When Betty finished, Maria told her mother to face the consequences of her actions. Maria felt no sympathy for Betty's situation. She remembered all the suffering Betty had caused their family. Barry tried to persuade Maria to visit her mother, but Maria refused. She told Barry that she could never forgive her mother for everything she had done. Maria was firm in her decision, saying she would never visit Betty, no matter what. As Betty's health worsened, she realized how much she had lost. She had pushed away the people who could have helped her. Alone and sick, Betty died a few months later. Maria did not attend her funeral, but sent Barry to represent her. A year later, Barry and Maria got married, beginning a new chapter in their lives, free from the shadows of their past. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.